Hello and welcome back to the Adventures in CRE audio series. Today we are joined by attorney Ron Rohde. We're going to be talking about how to hire an attorney, what to ask, what you need to know, and how to get started. Let's go.
Welcome to the Adventures in CRE audio series. Join Michael Belasco and Spencer Burton as they pull back the curtain on everything commercial real estate and introduce you to some of the top minds in the industry. If you want to take your skills to the next level and be part of a growing community of CRE professionals across the world, this is for you.
All right. Welcome back to the audio series. Obviously, today is a special day because once again, maybe not in studio this time, but we have guest Ron Rohde with us. Ron, how you doing, buddy?
Living the dream.
Living the dream. That's kind of your go-to response, I've noticed.
That's how I feel. I mean, I can't help it.
That's good. That's really good. Well, I'm going to kick over to Spencer as far as the introduction, what we're talking about today, and to kind of set the landscape of the topic for today's podcast.
Yeah, so two things I want to bring up. The first is we're recording this series using our new Adventures in CRE webinar tool. It's pretty cool. We'll be doing more events using this tool. This is the first time we're recording using it. We'll see how the recording turns out. The other thing is, of course, we have Ron back. Ron Rohde is a real estate attorney based here in Texas, a friend. He also is our co-contributor, the guest contributor in our ACRE legal section. And he has right now up several posts on things like purchase and sale agreements. I think there's a lease agreement template. And in the same vein that we share real estate financial models, Ron shares his library of legal documents. And so it's incredibly valuable to ACRE readers. So first, Ron, thank you for sharing that with the audience and continuing to share.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a labor of love, but I like getting the feedback and talking with the users that are using the documents in real life. So
yeah, it's great to hear that, and you're welcome to reach out to Ron. His contact information is on the website. We'll link to that down below. You can get in touch with him about any questions that you have, either related to the templates that he's sharing publicly or about anything else. But today, what we want to get into. And I thought this was a valuable topic to bring up at this stage where we're all sitting at home and we're thinking about that next deal, and maybe we're not walking into people's offices, and so we're making phone calls to engage key stakeholders in any given deal. And one of those is your real estate attorney, right? And there's different stages at when we might engage the real estate attorney. But that's going to happen. And what we wanted to do is get Ron in here and talk about what to ask the attorney on that first call. Like, how do you know that individual is the right individual for that particular deal or task? So that's the topic for today. I think how we're gonna proceed here is we'll just pepper Ron with questions until he gets tired of it, or we run out of storage space, and then the episode will end. So let me start, and Sam, if you will. So Ron, let's imagine a scenario where I am interested in proceeding on the acquisition of, say, a multifamily deal. In your view, when should I first engage a real estate attorney? At what point is it now worth, let's be honest, spending money?
Sure. Well, I mean, like most attorneys, I'm going to talk. I'm happy to chat with potential clients. Engaging me formally versus just having a conversation, I think, are two different stages. And people shouldn't be afraid of reaching out and at least getting a gauge of the availability and kind of my advice for first steps. But this can really be pre-LOI. This can be maybe in conjunction or slightly after a broker. If you have somebody hunting down acquisitions or leads for you, because we really can be involved in guiding your thought process about how do you want to structure this deal? What type of multifamily property and the seller, what kind of debt on the property is going to be assumable? And answering those questions will really shape even, I think, the pipeline of what potential deals you're looking for.
Okay, yeah. So you're suggesting that when you have a deal that looks interesting, but you're not quite ready, or you're not sure if you want to go to the LOI stage, you engage in an informal fashion your real estate attorney. Well,
Yeah.
what about if I don't have a real estate attorney yet? Right. So, I mean, do I go online and I Google? Do I ask friends and family? I mean, like,
Yes, absolutely.
what's the best way to find one? I mean, how do I even know who to call first?
Definitely, ask your trusted advisors. I think other investors in the space that are doing similar deals, they're going to have the couple of names that are useful. What I'm finding though too is, people are using Google, and when they have a relationship, if you listen to somebody and you watch their YouTube videos, if they're saying things that you like to hear, they should be on your short list. But beyond collecting the names, I think the next phase of that is doing an interview, calling them up, but applying kind of a systematic approach to this interview. I hate just blindly taking the advice of somebody else, but have a list of questions, write them down. Depending on how particular you are, make a spreadsheet. You put down every attorney's answers in a spreadsheet, and you compare them and the pros and cons. And I guarantee you that every lawyer is going to have different answers. So write those down, compare it, and then make a choice after that. But
let me stop you there, because that's an interesting word that you use, the word choice for interview, right? We think of interview as kind of job seeking. So when you're suggesting that there's a very much a vetting of that individual's abilities and knowledge, and maybe there's almost like a cultural, that's the wrong term, but you're trying to decide if you jive, right? Is this someone that I want as a member of my team? How many of these interviews would you suggest that someone who doesn't have their go-to real estate attorney do? I mean, are there 3, 10, 2? Like what?
I don't think 10. I think 10's way too much. I would say 3. Depending on your comfort level and the confidence of referrals, for example, maybe you're going to do 2 and have it really down. But you should be prepared that even say 6 months ago, I was getting referrals from attorneys or clients that told me their current attorney didn't have capacity. They didn't have bandwidth. And so if you have a short list and it only has 2 attorneys on it, you may be sorely disappointed that one of them doesn't return your phone call and the second guy is booked up. And if you have a list of only 2, you might be left empty-handed. So, if you're starting off, maybe 3 or 4. And again, it will give you a feel of the ballpark of a range of attorneys.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's not just about picking the one. You're saying you get to know a group, and perhaps you put them in a list of favorite to least favorite, and then you have a couple that you could call in the event that one is too busy. Is that what you're getting at?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not even so much favorite, it's much as specialties. So different attorneys, just like brokers, different lenders, they have different specialties that the same lender you go to for a 80% multifamily that's 99% leased, they're going to be giving you competitive terms on one area for fully leased, low-risk properties. And you might have a different lender in your Rolodex for the guy that loves a 50% rehab in a tier 3 city. Both are lenders. Both of them are supremely qualified, but they just do slightly different things. And I think that's the same way with lawyers. You want to talk to somebody and say, hey, is this a syndicated REIT exit, Delaware master portfolio acquisition? We need a lot of firepower. We need a lot of capacity behind it. That's going to be an expensive and very busy, pricey lawyer versus, hey, I'm doing a personal deal to buy a 200-unit apartment in Texas, friends and family kind of money deal or personal investment that I don't want to spend $80,000 on legal. So in that case, you might interview those 3 lawyers and you say, hey, this guy is a really good fit for X. This guy is a really good fit for Y. And then you just stay in contact and have both of those attorneys in your bullpen.
Okay. So let's get into Like, how do we know if that a particular attorney is the right attorney? Now, I reckon some of these questions are obvious, but there are nuances here, and that's where your expertise can really help those who are listening here. So what are the questions in your mind, if you could list the top 3 or the top 5 questions that someone who's interviewing a real estate attorney should ask, what would those questions be?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to say that my experience has been on thousands of these interviews, and I always feel like the interviewee. I'm trying to impress the client, and I'm doing my best to pitch them. But I've been on thousands of them, and it's very interesting to me. I've started to notice a trend of the good clients, the successful developers or owners are people that know how to not only use legal documents, but they know how to use their lawyer. And that means they have a good relationship. They know how to push the lawyer, and they know how to get the right outcome out of the lawyer and the law firm so that they're not angry and they're not frustrated. I would say, again, with an $80,000 legal bill, there could be clients that are very happy with that outcome. And then there could be clients that are very unhappy with it. And really the burden falls on the client in the first place. Because I think that.
Yeah. So what's a question that these good clients are asking?
So get a sense of your own goals. I think that beyond just the investment, your IRR and your risk tolerance, sharing some of those goals about the property going into the acquisition with your attorney will put the attorney on the same page. Yeah. So I asked them too, what type of investors do you work with? Do you work with the life cos or the endowments that have 0 risk, tolerance, and they have 100-year, and this is what they're looking for. Every easement and every possible risk has to be disclosed and chased down, versus somebody who says, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to do a value add, I'm going to jack up the NOI, increase the occupancy, and I'm going to sell this. And it's not to say that I'm going to ignore certain things, but I'm not going to spend $5,000 to chase down what's an expected value of $5,500, because it just doesn't make sense. The flipper, the value add guy's gonna say, I'm gonna be out of this property, Ron, in 3 years. If there's an easement from a utility company and it's cutting off a little bit of this part, I don't care. It's not gonna be my problem. I'm gonna pass it on. And that's a type of investment goal that not a lot of my clients share with me. And as we all know, on the face of it, the deals all look the same, but injecting a particular asset into a broader portfolio, it can go from apples to oranges. And so that's a great question,
So you want to understand the types of clients that real estate attorney works with, because that, as a result, that attorney will be conditioned to respond in the way that those types of clients would expect the attorney to respond. And then perhaps it's either more risk averse or less risk averse than you may take. Right. That's really interesting. Okay. So that would be number one, right? Is understand what type of clients the real estate attorney. What's another one?
Yeah. I think outlining how you plan to proceed through due diligence and identifying the approach. So I've had clients that come in and they say, our price is our price. If the other side asks for concessions, we're going to be, very staunch, no concessions. We're giving them full price, no extensions, none of this. We're not paying for that. And that's one approach. In a buyer's type of market, that may save them a ton of time. It may make the deal go through faster. And asking the attorney, well, based on everything that we've discussed, right? Now you've had some small talk, you've talked about the asset, you've talked about your approach, you've talked about other investors. You guys have had some dialogue. Ask the attorney, what kind of approach would you recommend that would fit with our goals? So again, if you're positioning this property to be a really long-term hold or a certain redevelopment piece, and they own other adjacent land or that type of thing, ask the attorney what they think. Because you can learn a lot about the attorney if they have some creative solutions, or if they have the confidence to disagree with you. I mean, that's one of the things that I love doing in my interview process, is maybe disagreeing with something. I think that it's important. It's an important test to see, how do they respond to that? Do they shut me down? Do they absolutely nix the idea, or are they receptive? And if they're open to at least listening to the why, then I think they're going to be a great client, because they value my advice. And I'm not going to waste their money, but it's going to be, again, a collaborative process, instead of them just saying, I want to do this, it's my way or the highway.
So what I'm hearing is, communicate your intentions, ask for feedback, and then find out if the attorney is a yes man or not. Is that what I'm really? It sounds like, right? What?
And again, it's some clients, maybe they want a yes man. Maybe they say, Ron, I need this deal to go through no matter what. I will take on inordinate amounts of risk, because it's year end. We have to, deploy these funds and all sorts of other financial ramifications. But they're saying, this is a big deal. We have to close this. You can tell me, but I'm going to ignore you. You can tell me this is a red flag, but I'm going to ignore you. And that's fine. But there's a big difference between going into a deal and saying, oh yeah, Ron, review the due diligence, do this stuff. And then I'm raising all these red flags, and they're they're essentially ignoring me. And it causes concern for me, versus the upfront communication of, we need this deal to get done at nearly any cost, because the fund penalties or the investor penalties are too severe. So yeah, that's a good question.
It's interesting, because it does seem like in any service related capacity, I mean, you're providing a service. This is not like you're not, selling a product or anything like that. You're providing a service. And it does seem like this theme holds true for pretty much anything. Transparent, really open, objective communication will help you kind of get to where you're going. I think a lot of times people, and I believe this is where you started out, this process was actually know what you want before you go in. Because I think a lot of times people are maybe excited about the prospects of something. They don't really think it through, or they don't really take in all of the considerations that you need to. And because of that, they end up with your idea instead of theirs. And what you're saying is, come in with your goal, and we're going to find the most realistic and safe, depending on your risk tolerance, way to get there. Is that about right?
That's absolutely. I mean, know your own goals first, and then you can hire the team that will reflect and help you execute your goals. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you buy this property and execute your goals with your risk tolerance, with your budget, and all these factors that.
So do you think that by and large, I mean, I think everybody's experience with attorneys has been different. Do you think that most attorneys, again, we're painting with a broad brush, are more open to that type of flexibility? Meaning they will try and help you work in your. I just feel like a lot of people think attorneys are just going to go their way. They're just going to say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. And they're going to provide all the direction. But is it your position that most attorneys would prefer that you say, hey, here's what we're going to do. This is the way I want to do it. Come on the team so long as you're a fit. Do you feel like that's the preferred way?
I think there's definitely a percentage of lawyers that are more receptive, but it's definitely not most. A lot of lawyers have been trained. They are trained to be very conservative. And, again, their lives depend on it. People are paying them to look for problems and to avoid them. But
so is that good or bad?
I think it's.
And I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here. I want to hear from an attorney. I actually do want to hear, because as a consumer, your response is kind of what my experience has been. So is that good or bad?
I think it's bad. I think lawyers are steering their own guidelines of what is acceptable or unacceptable, and it pulls them down this conservative,
Yeah.
spend money, right? That's a corollary with that conservative approach is we're going to check everything out. We're going to go down this rabbit hole just in case there's some document that was filed against the property 50 years ago that could cause title to be in jeopardy. But they're going to chase that down in a conservative yet self-serving, fee generating approach that I think it's bad. I think that you need to have that centering conversation or that guiding conversation first. And only if the client says, yes, Ron, I need you to be ultra conservative, then we go down that path. But
and I really like where you started this conversation was effectively, you really do need to train the consumer some, because some consumers are just they're positioning themselves to be horrible clients from the get-go. And that doesn't work for anybody. It doesn't work for you as an attorney. It doesn't end up resulting, in the benefit of the client. So there is some of the client needs some level of training and expectation prior to going in, which I think is the purpose of this particular podcast. So I think that's great. And I think also some of us go in maybe almost anticipating the worst, like, oh, the attorney's going to take every opportunity to shoot this down. Like that's what their job is, instead of just listen. And then once they've, heard everything, start to ask questions to get a better understanding. It's almost like, and again, I appreciate you sharing this, because it's almost like they jump to conclusions that are a little half baked, it seems like at times.
Yeah. I think, and one of the reasons I brought up that question at the beginning about when is the right time to engage an attorney is, it's kind of a painful experience in a lot of cases when you find the wrong attorney and you've had that experience and you're somewhat jaded, and therefore the next deal you go, I'm going to wait a little longer. I'm going to wait until, but Ron's right. When you find the right attorney, and if you can get them involved early on with informal discussion, I mean, there's nothing more powerful than having that member on your team who's providing genuine feedback and not the type that slows the deal down, but the type that moves the deal forward, but in a judicious way. Now we're out of time almost. And so I want to ensure to get one more question out of Ron here. Now, by the way, this video is in part a companion to a blog post that Ron's writing or has written on this very same topic. And in that blog post, he's sharing I think he called it a cheat sheet for hiring an attorney. It's I think a really valuable piece of information you can go and download for free. And so he has other questions on his cheat sheet. But Ron, as you think about the third question that someone should ask their attorney as part of this interview, what would that third and final question be?
Oh, you're making me pick just one. Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest question that is really kind of three is, what is their estimate, time, energy, and cost? Because I find that is another area where the clients and the attorneys are not on the same page.
Good question. That's I love hearing that, by the way. So keep going. But yes, you're spot on.
Have that conversation with them, and if that's important, well, it is important. If you don't want to get blindsided with a bill, you need to have that discussion. What are your estimates? And what I really take credit for is the lawyer potentially has done a lot more of these deals than you have. It's their job. They do a lot. They should be able to have a better and more accurate estimate of the legal costs than you. Yeah. And I get that, there are people who have done way more deals than I have, but by and large, depending on which type of attorney you're talking to, the attorney as a service provider has done more. So they should be able to give you an estimate. They should be able to answer these questions and not hem and haw with, well, it depends. And you're saying, look, we've just had 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I've shared the documents with you. We've gone through, you have a ton of information about this deal. What are your estimates? And really hold their feet to the fire, because lawyers shouldn't be able to worm out of that question. And I think that I'll leave you with that, but just have the confidence to expect more from your attorney, and you'll do the profession a favor.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We at Adventures in CRE, Michael, Sam, and I had this experience a month or two ago where we needed some terms and conditions for the website written, and there was a bill that got away, and we didn't interview our attorney well, and we should have understood. We should have set expectations up front, and that didn't happen. And as a result, we paid the price for it. So that's great advice. Go check out Ron's cheat sheet. Otherwise, Ron, thanks for coming on again, and for your contributions to ACRE. It's great. It's incredibly valuable. And for those listening, Ron's an incredible individual, great real estate attorney, and I know that he's happy and willing to field inquiries, and so feel free to reach out directly to him. Otherwise, back to you, Sam.
Yeah, that's perfect. Great wrap up, you guys. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next episode of the podcast.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Adventures in CRE audio series. For show notes and additional resources, head over to www.adventuresincre.com/audio series. Would you like to learn real estate financial modeling in a matter of weeks and do it with zero guesswork? If so, the ACRE Accelerator is for you. The Accelerator is a step-by-step, case-based program designed to teach you exactly what you need to know and in the order you need to know it, so you can gain both the knowledge and experience to take your career to the next level. To see if the Accelerator is right for you, go to www.adventuresincre.com/accelerator.